Welcome to Soltron. This is a video review for my custom DX Gozyuger Orca booster. So you can see, here's what he looks like with a little bit of a neutral pose with the Orca booster parts put on him. So this is the DX version, so he's looking pretty good. I think much better than his default version. And you can see he just, with the extra articulation, it really makes a difference. Alright, and here's the box he came with, and you can see he's only really capable of doing like his standing still pose, and then he's got his shoulder articulation. But that's the only articulation the figure really has. So I've definitely done a lot of work there. And then this box does feel a little cheap. It's very fairly thin cardboard, so this probably wouldn't last very long unless you take very good care of it. But as far as looks go, I just love the aesthetic of this. Like, the pieces just flow really well together. He just looks complete. He looks a lot like something out of Zerum or something. He's got like this alien samurai kind of look to him, and he's just so decorated and ornate. And his original Tegasword mode just fits so well with this upgrade. I just love the way it looks, and like this gold halo effect behind him too. He is like very back heavy now, so he does want to fall backwards. He's just barely balancing, and that's my fault because of the mods I did to his wings. So I might maybe undo those because the ball joints really don't make that much of a difference. Maybe a little bit, but so I might find a way to reduce how far back his backpack is, because it does make him a little bit more back heavy, because this should basically be flush against the handle. But he doesn't get any. I was really surprised with this new head. He doesn't get any new sound effects. Maybe they didn't want to give it away. So it's just really just his default everything, which I like. I like the rainbow colors anyway, but it would have been cool if he did something special, because you can get his... And then when you plug in like the new ring head, that's it. Like, no special sound, no anything. And I guess, I don't know, I'm not too familiar with this, so maybe all the new sounds are like put into this part of the configuration. So he does have a trigger, and you can get like a shooting noise, and if you hold it down, you get like a powered up special move. And then you do get another sound effect. You have to trigger this little peg right here. So I think that's maybe where they put the new sounds at. So if it's pressed down, he's like in his gun mode basically, and you're just going to get the default sound effects. So there's his shooting mode, but when you open it, that's where you get his, I guess, gatai sound effects. I don't know how you're supposed to show it that it's done. I guess maybe you push the trigger. Yeah. Okay, so that's how you get his new sound effects. So it actually doesn't come from the Tegasword anymore, which is a little bit unfortunate, but it's not that big a deal. So yeah, I've done a lot of custom work on this guy. So first off, he's got his ball joint head, same thing I did to all the other ring modes. So he can look in all directions. His shoulders kind of get in the way, you can kind of lower those. But he can get a good amount of sideways motion on the head. You can get like some upward motion, but then it looks kind of weird. It breaks the sculpt. You can get a little bit of downward, which looks a little bit more natural. So yeah, I think that's pretty fun that he has his head articulation. I also cut away some of the plastic here so that his shoulder panels can just pivot out of the way. They're normally down like this, but they can now rotate up a little bit, which helps with his arm articulation. And then he has the ball joints that I installed in the DX Tegasword, so he's got a good amount of articulation going there. He can pull off some very natural looking poses. I ball jointed his hip skirts. I'm not super satisfied with these, but they do the job. They get out of his way for his legs. And then he does have the ball joint knees and hips that I did earlier, so you can kind of get some good poses, and then the hip skirts won't be a problem. So they work well enough for what they need to do. But yeah, that pretty much covers most of the modding I did to this guy. And I did do a couple of extra, I guess, sneaky little things to give him some new combinations, which I'll show off in the next video. So he's got these ball joints up here so that he can add new arms there, so a new connection point. And then I put some new connection points behind his little halo as well. So those will come into play when I give him an ultimate combination, which uses all the other figures that I've modded for this line. So that'll look pretty cool. Yeah, there's not much else to show off with this guy, so I'll just go ahead and put him into his standard mode. So to get his sword ready, it does have a transformation joint right here. That's all you need to do. Oh yeah, and the sword is nicely not rubber. It is a hard piece of plastic, which I really appreciate. And then we can pull off his face, and you can get a closer look at, I forgot to show off his head sculpt. So really fascinating head sculpt. It looks very like alien and insectoid. And of course I love this samurai crown. That's very cool. And you can see the ball joints that give him all his articulation there. It's a very simple thing to do. And then you can pull off his whole skirt piece and armor. So this is just attached here, and then you can see these are just using ball joints. You can just pop off the ball joints, and then these gray armatures can just like rotate back here and just be hidden. You're not really going to see them down there anyway. And then you just straighten out the shoulders, and then we take the two hip skirts, and we're going to fold in the sword. Goes right here like this. And then you just take these two halves and put them together around the sword. And then there's a little bit of friction that holds it all together, and then these clips just clip right here in the chest. And then you're going to raise this little lens piece, which is very cool. So it makes it look like the gun is shooting through this lens, or the laser is shooting through there. So that's pretty cool. And then you have the front of the Orca all assembled. And then I just need to take off the back of the Orca pieces. So this is just on ball joints that connect back here from my original mod. And then you just fold up this ring piece, and then you can see these balls now joint into these shoulder sockets. So you're just going to shove that into place. And then he's back in his rifle mode, which is pretty cool. I think a pretty good looking gun mode all told. And then he does have the trigger here. And then he's got this cool feature where you can cock this back. And then you can shoot it for a nice charged shot. So yeah, pretty cool. And I think what's nice about my mods is it didn't really compromise this guy at all. Like, these are kind of ugly, but I could hide those inside his body. Oh yeah, and I forgot actually. I forgot that the ring actually plugs into this right here, so this part of the gun. And this actually kind of makes like a little tiny gun, if you're interested in the roleplay gimmick, so that's kind of cool. But this actually plugs in right here, and then you put everything together. So the charged shot actually goes through his crown as well. So it basically starts here, and then it shoots through here, and then it goes through this lens, and then it goes through this halo in the sword. So it's pretty cool that the charged shot goes through all these rings to fire off. So that's a nice little gimmick. And then his helmet is just going to be locked in here now, so underneath. So everything nicely folded together. The only thing I wish this thing did is the tail. pieces. I wish the tail fins folded down so you could hold this more comfortably. I might do something with that and make a stand for this guy because the combined modes that I made for him, well, the combined forms I made for this guy are pretty heavy, so I think having a little stand that connects to the tail here would actually be pretty handy, so I might work that out in the future. But yeah, that's about it for this figure. I had to buy this on eBay, so I paid a crazy amount of money for it, so it was like $90, which is pretty expensive, but the quality feels pretty good. The ring feels kind of cheap, it's just like one layer of plastic. But the quality feels pretty good. I think better than the Tegasword even. So maybe $90 is not asking too much. But yeah, a really fun robot. I highly recommend it. If you already have the Tegasword, you definitely need to get this. It's such a massive upgrade from the default. Oh yeah, and the other thing you can do is there's 5 slots on the ring itself. So you can put your 5 rings on there. Oh, and it just like clicked with me. That's why he's got all these ring gimmicks, is because that was the gimmick for the season. But yeah, I think he looks good in all his modes, especially when he becomes armor. I highly recommend this set. It's really good. It kind of redeems how bad the last, I don't know, how bad some of the other figures of the line are. I think this actually makes up for it. But anyway, I'll see you in the next one, and you can check out those combinations.